Okay, high key, let's just jump into this because I've got a lot to say and I have a lot of time. It is already midnight. I have work tomorrow and I have to upload this before I sleep. So let's just get into it. If you're new here, my name is Han. My pronouns are they, them, and I've been talking about this NewJeans case since pretty much the beginning, like literally for the last year and a bit. You can check out the coverage I've been doing on my main channel, The Haniverse. But this is my second channel where I do more off-the-cuff reactions. I do have a few notes because I've got a lot of things I want to say and I want to make sure I don't miss nothing today. But this is, for all intents and purposes, my raw reaction to very fresh news. This is not going to be highly like researched and organized to the same level as my typical videos are. So just know that this is off the cuff. This is basically unscripted, and it's going to be a little raw. And if you're not new here, welcome back, superstars. It's nice to have you. You guys have read the title, you all know the news, and I personally am curious to know if you're all as gobsmacked as I was, because guys, I did not see this one coming. Today at 6 p.m. KST, I'm sure you guys know by now, but two members of NewJeans, Hee-Jin and Hee-Jin, announced their return to ADOR. Their announcement came through ADOR itself, mind you. And while I was completely blindsided by this, I was confused, I was shocked, I was worried, I was happy, I was excited, I was scared. In between all that mess, we got another announcement just 2 hours later that the remaining three members, Hani, Danielle, and Minji, would also be returning to ADOR. Now, as I'm sure you guys have all seen, there have been a variety, a spectrum of reactions, if you will. And while the news is somewhat bittersweet, there's good points, there's bad points, there's actually also a lot of questions that we've been left with. So I'm gonna give you guys my initial thoughts, why I think this happened, what I think is happening behind the scenes, what I think is gonna happen next, and of course how this is gonna affect our favorite person, Hee-Jin. So after losing on October 30th, it was announced by NewJeans lawyers that they were planning to file an appeal. But you may not know this, in Korea you can file appeal up to 2 times, so you can have 3 rulings in total basically. And the deadline in which you can file an appeal is 2 weeks from the ruling, which means the last day that NewJeans could file an appeal would be tomorrow, November 13th. It's now November 12th, Korean Standard Time. I mean, it's past midnight, so technically it's today, but anyway, I digress. Well, earlier today, on November 12th, ADOR posted a statement announcing that Hee-Jin and Hee-Jin would be returning to ADOR. If you can hear Oggy in the back, ignore him. If you don't know who Oggy is, that's my cat, my co-star. The statement from ADOR read, Hee-Jin and Hee-Jin have expressed their intent to continue working with ADOR. After careful consideration with their families and thorough discussion with ADOR, the two members have decided to respect the court's ruling and comply with their exclusive contracts. We will do our best to ensure Hee-Jin and Hee-Jin can continue their entertainment activities smoothly. We kindly request fans to refrain from speculation about the members and to continue their warm support. Of course, even though they said don't do this led to a lot of speculation about why is it only 2 members? Where are the other members? What is going to happen? Are the other members still going to appeal? If they appeal now, is this going to hurt their appeal? Etc, etc, etc. I already started typing up my script notes. And then, as I said, 2 hours later, we got a statement from the other 3 members. And the statement reads, one member is currently in Antarctica, and thus our stance was delivered late. As ADOR is currently not responding, we are giving notice individually. Now, I've looked through at least, I'm not gonna lie, like 3 or 4 articles, but I could not find any word about where this statement was posted. All we know is that it wasn't through the lawyers at Sejong, because they would have said Sejong lawyers said on behalf of blah, 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 blah. So we know it's not from the lawyers, and I don't think it's from the social media either. So maybe they contacted like a PR agency or the media directly. Generally, idols will know a few reporters, just FYI. If you guys don't know, if you're new here, I've worked in the K-pop industry. I worked in marketing, I know how it works. But yes, it's not mentioned where the origin of the statement is. And ADOR just simply responded to this saying that we are currently confirming the 3 members' intention to return. Basically, we haven't heard anything from them, so we're double checking. Now, we will talk about some things that are said in both of these statements in a moment. But I just wanted to say that for brevity's sake, for the rest of this video, I'm going to be referring to the girls as the Mangnes for Hee-Jin and Hee-Jin, and the Onnis for the other 3, because it's just easier, and I can't be bothered to say the name every single time. Hee-Jin and Hee-Jin is a tongue twister. Anyway, so my initial reaction, honestly, like I said, I was completely blindsided, especially by the first round of news. And by the time I'd finished processing that, there was now a second round of news. Because although we have spoken numerous times about the possibility of them ever coming back to the company, what that would look like, what their intentions might be after they come back and so on, I never quite imagined it to happen this way. Now, I did say a while back at the start of this case, when there was some discrepancy amongst the parents, that if ever one of the members were to break away from the NewJeans alliance and come back to the company voluntarily, it would be one of the Mangners. However, I never quite imagined it to be two of them, and I definitely never imagined it to happen in this way. And I do want to say that I know a lot of people said, like, yes, I also thought it would be the Mangners who would be the ones to come back, and they've always been less vocal. I personally do not hold that same belief. While I already made a video on this channel actually about why I think specific members are being supposedly forced or willingly being more vocal, whatever the case you may, however you choose to see it. But I still believe that there is a tactic involved there of who was speaking, where they were speaking, when they were speaking. And we cannot pretend that Hee-Jin and Hee-Jin didn't say anything this whole time. They have also been part of these statements. They have co-signed all these activities by being present, by continuing to go along with that. And while you may say it's peer pressure, you are still responsible for the things you do under peer pressure. So I don't believe this absolved them of any sort of accountability that they need to take. And we'll get to that as well. But I just do want to say that while I did always think that if anything was ever going to happen, it would be from one of these girls, wholeheartedly, I thought we'd long past that point. I did think at this point, NewJeans were going to ride or die together. And I do think this is such an interesting development because I have so many feelings. The first thing I want to hone in on is the fact that we got statements from two different places. And there's a reason statements happen from two different places. So if we go back to ADOR's statement, they said that the parent and members had been talking to ADOR. That means that this isn't a snap of the moment decision. They had come to the conclusion that, hey, okay, maybe this appeal thing is not going to work. Maybe this court case is a dead end and we need to think of plan B. We need to actually consider all the options, and we're going to go and we're going to talk to the company and we're going to see what they have to say. So there has been a process in these last 2 weeks under which they've got to the point where they've said, okay, we're coming back. And I know there are going to be people who are very mad at NewJeans, very rightfully so, who will say, why did they not make this statement themselves? This is the job of the company. If an idol is under a company, it is the company's responsibility to speak on behalf of the idol. So yes, that it makes sense that ADOR is the ones who would speak on behalf of the Mangners after they've agreed to come back. Now, that then brings into the question, why were the Onnies the ones who made their own statement? And I think this is a situation of, there was a breakdown of trust, if you will, between the NewJeans members. And as much as I know there is going to be some people who are like, you know what, serves them right, it's the least they deserve after everything that's happened, I do honestly think it's very sad because it's going to stain everything they do moving forward. It's going to make things a lot more complicated than if they had stayed as a unit. And I've always said that I think the biggest strength that NewJeans has for themselves right now was the fact, or well, until now, should I say, was the fact that they were moving together. They were supposedly a unit. Maybe they had some conflict before this and we just didn't know, but to the public, they've always seemed to do things together. And I did say actually that they keep repeating that, which makes me actually doubt the statement because you wouldn't need to confirm the truth if it was already true, you know what I mean? But yeah, I don't know, like, my point being is that I feel the Mangners came to the decision to go back to ADOR and the Onnies panicked. They had one of two options here. They could either double down and go ahead with the appeal, which I don't think they would be able to do, because think about it. If they're saying that they still don't want to go back because of a breakdown of trust, but two of the members have said, okay, maybe the breakdown of trust wasn't that serious, we trust them enough to go back, it makes their argument look incredibly weak. And it also makes them now more liable for even more of the penalty should they lose. Not only that, but also if they're saying we are doing everything as a unit, we are a team, and they allowed the Mangners to go back to the company without them, it is announcing to the world that NewJeans are no longer a team. Now, I do think it's very telling that they say in their statement, one of us is in flipping Antarctica, which, mind you, girl, what a way to spend your millions. I'm not hating. I'm like, go on, explore the world, do that. That's great. But the same week that one of the most important rulings of your life is, oh, I know it's been 2 weeks, but like technically, you know what I mean? Like, I'm sorry, if this was me, I would be in the country. I would make sure I'm here and present for everything that's going on. Like, decisions that are life-changing are being made and you're gallivanting around the world. That's crazy. Anyway, I digress. My point being, it shows that for the Onnies, they were not expecting to do any talks. They were not planning to be available. And even their statement where they said, like, as ADOR is currently not responding, it's still giving entitled and bratty. Like, I know a lot of NewJeans fans, if you're watching this video, you're gonna hate that I use that word, but I'm calling it how I see it. It is bratty. It's so backhanded. It's like, oh, we even decided to come back and the company is still ignoring us. It doesn't show good faith. It shows that there's still animosity towards the company, which granted is not going to disappear overnight. But if you've come back, you should be mature enough and professional enough to say, okay, we've given very short notice because clearly the other two have had long conversations, probably over multiple days, and you're giving a snap decision you've made. Who even knows how long before sending this statement they sent the notice to ADOR, and now they're like, oh, well, the company is ignoring us again. Like, it shows that there hasn't been any development in their understanding of the situation or their attitude towards ADOR, which makes me think this is not a decision that they're making willfully. Ultimately, I think that the Onis really did have every intention of still going down the appeal route until they realized that half of our members have jumped ship. And I do think this is going to be a problem for the camaraderie of the group moving forward. Now, it's no secret that not all K-pop idols who work together are best friends. But again, if we were to trust NewJeans' statement, which I know, anyway, if we were to trust NewJeans' statements that they were united up until this point, I don't see a world in which they can be united moving forward, because this shows that the Magners took calculated and planned movements against the wishes of the Onis and made a decision for themselves without consulting them and kind of forced the Onis' hand. So I can see them coming back, especially as they're older as well, and being like, you traitors, you guys owe us, you have to make it up to us. This is not acceptable. You guys tried to abandon us from what it seems. I cannot see this being a situation where the Onis knew that the Magners were going to do this and were just waiting to see what happened. They responded to the situation they had been forced into. So now that we have an idea of how we may have got here, I do want to talk about some of the positives and negatives that come out of the situation. So first things first, regardless of how you individually feel about NewJeans and how I individually feel about NewJeans, the reality is for NewJeans, this is the best decision. This is what we have been saying they should be doing this whole time. And I know there are going to be a lot of people who are very, very angry to see NewJeans come back to the company. We will talk about them. But the reality is, if we're talking about what is the logical, sensible, common sense thing that NewJeans should be doing, this is it. This is what we have been saying to them time and time again. So now that it's happened, I'm not going to fault them for it. I think they made the right decision. I'm happy they've seemingly, emphasis on seemingly, come back to their senses, and I'm hoping that this works for them moving forward. I do also think that there is going to be the question of how sincere are they about this, and we can kind of argue what a lot of you guys have said before, is that the Magners always seem less involved with the speaking out and the speaking back and the criticism in the public. So it does kind of look good for them to be the ones who came back first. We also knew that there was discrepancies between both of their parents, both sets of parents, with I believe Hee-Jin's mum being the one who got her signed with Source Music and Hee-Jin's dad being the one who decided not to participate in the lawsuit. Correct me on that if I'm wrong. But both of their parents have shown like a bit of disagreement on this. And I can see this also being a case of like, they let the parents who supported the girl's decision do their thing. And then once they lost, they were like, okay, now it's my turn. We're going to do things my way. Let's go and talk to the company and hear what they have to say. And you know what? For all the mistakes that the parents have made thus far, flowers were due. I'm glad that they also, to some extent, have come to their senses and they've brought their daughters back to a safer environment than following Hee-Jin around like lemmings off the edge of the cliff that she's inevitably going to throw herself off. Just like in the fucking Dolphiners music video. I'm sorry. Let me be serious. What are we talking about? The other positive is something that I mentioned a long time ago, in that, as we've been saying, NewJeans coming back to the company is the best thing for their careers, but it's also good in the fact that they've now got the eyes of the world watching how ADOR treat them. I know a lot of people would love that ADOR just threw them in the dungeon, didn't do anything with them, and let them run out the clock of their contracts in obscurity. But realistically, ADOR have promised in the court of law that we have a full-length album, we have a concert tour, we have all these things planned for them, and now they are forced to deliver on those promises. And if I was NewJeans, I've said this from the beginning, if I wanted out, I would rinse ADOR for everything they could possibly provide me. I would ask them for the best producers, for the best designs, for the best costumes, for the best music. I would make myself as popular on their dime as I possibly could, make as much money as I possibly could, and know that at the end of that contract, I'm still going to walk away with my fame and my name, and I'm not going to owe them anything else moving forward. It's time for ADOR to show up and make good on their promises. So this could be a great opportunity for NewJeans if they have the mind to utilize it. Now, that being said, and mind you, those are the only positives I could think of, there is still a very healthy dose of skepticism running through my veins right now, because ultimately we knew NewJeans would go back eventually. Regardless of whether they appealed or not, we always knew they were going to lose, which means they would have no choice. The question is, what would they do after they go back? Now, I have said I do think there is some sincerity in the Magna's decision to come back to the company, but there is still a very good chance that they could go back and choose to be abrasive and uncooperative and cause trouble. There's also the chance that they could go back for the interim and still turn around later and say, you know what, we've changed our mind again. We've tried it out for 2 or 3 months and we still feel like we're not safe here. We want to go down the termination route. We're ready to pay, but we're going to take you to court to decide what that penalty is. Both options are still completely open. They could really utilize ADOR for everything they have, or they could still make things hard down the line. So I don't think we've seen the end of this era of NewJeans, especially because personally, until I see them on stage performing with a smile, not making faces, not sending signals, not having every move they make hyper-analyzed, I will not see it as NewJeans is truly back until I see all those things happen. Also, just because they've decided to come back doesn't mean that we the fans or we the audience are ready to accept them. We've already talked at nauseam about how the general public just generally don't care. They're just happy to listen to good music. And ultimately, the general public don't matter because they're not the ones who buy CDs. They're not the ones who buy concert tickets. They're not the ones who buy merch. They stream and a stream earns like $0.000000034. So it really doesn't mean anything to have them be streamed if they don't have the sales numbers to back that up. The reality is NewJeans have a lot of work to do in order to get back in anybody's good graces, should we so choose to forgive them. Firstly, you guys have been referring to it as the apology tour. Honestly, what else would you call it? They owe a lot of people apologies. They obviously owe Islet and Seraphim apologies. They owe the other hype artists. There's BTS who had the cult accusations against them. There's TXT and SVT who literally had interactions they had with NewJeans completely dissected and got chewed out online. There's the staff who would have been affected by this, Islet's manager, all the PR staff who had to deal with every flipping news release and press release that went out, the staff of ADOR who will have to continue to work with NewJeans. It's crazy. Because personally, if I worked in ADOR, I would ask for a transfer so swiftly. I would be like, I don't want to see them kids. I don't want to see them kids. I'm telling you. So they owe a lot of people apologies. And then they have to apologize to their fan base. They have to apologize to the fan base of the artists they've affected. And by extension, the fan bases of all hype artists. Because whether our artist name was mentioned or not, this is our company's issue for all intents and purposes, right? And of course, they're going to have to take a break from the limelight. It's not, I mentioned this before, there's no way that ADOR is going to be inhumane enough to say, you guys need to get back to work next week, Monday. And also, realistically, there needs to be a cooling off period. There needs to be a time for all of us to process everything that's happened up to this point. And there needs to be a group statement, not from the company, but from the members themselves, stating their intention to be sincere and to give their all into their activities with ADOR before they start any activities. Personally, I could see it as maybe ADOR will talk to the on-knees, because we haven't had any conversations yet, right? Over the next week. They might do the same thing. We've confirmed with the members their intention to come back. We will update you later. And then towards the end of the week, they might say, okay, the members have decided to return. We've confirmed everything. We've reviewed the exclusive contracts and we are going to begin the early stages. We think it's necessary for the artists to take some time off before we begin everything. And we need to settle the animosity within the company. Obviously not this exact wording, but I think it's going to be something along these lines. And then maybe towards the end of the year, or at the start of next year, around New Year's time anyway, there will be a statement from the members themselves, probably alongside the launching of their own Weverse community, because they sure as hell ain't getting phoning back again. And that will be the member saying, hello, this is Minji, Hani, Danielle, blah, 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 of NewJeans, and we would like to express our thoughts to our fans in our own words. Firstly, we would like to apologize for all the heartache and suffering that you guys have experienced over the last year, and we would like to thank you for all your continued support. We are making this statement today to let you know our commitment to continuing our activities with ADOR, and we are looking forward to opening this next chapter with you as we go into the new year. We hope that you'll look upon us kindly and blah, 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 blah. And they'll put some sort of statement out like that. I doubt they will put it in writing that they apologize to the fans and artists of the fans and other artists who were caught up in their thing. But I do imagine there will be some sort of apology process, and we will hear about that probably through ADOR saying that they've reconciled all the issues between all the other labels, and we are preparing for NewJeans launch to come back probably around the same time or just shortly prior to the NewJeans statement. And then I can see probably from, I want to say Q2, we will see NewJeans start to actively be active. Maybe they will release like the happy birthday messages, like the monthly messages for the fan club and things like that a bit prior. They might open fan club registration. They might release some merchandise, but I don't think we will see the NewJeans members themselves on stage until at least Q2 next year. Assuming they're serious about their return to ADOR. There's still every chance that we never get that far, but yeah, we'll see. I feel like that's as much as I can say in terms of my predictions. I know you guys would love me to say like, I think this is gonna happen, but honestly, I'm so shooketh by this news and I'm still processing it. So I really don't know what I think is gonna happen yet. I still see every path as a possibility. I could totally see it, and I would not be surprised if they go down the route of pretending to cooperate and then suddenly they're like, we want to terminate, we want to pay, let's go to court again. I wouldn't be surprised if they do end up staying long term, but they make it as difficult as possible for ADOR for the next, how many years is it? 6 years that they've got left on their contract? It's either 5 or 6 years. And I can totally see them saying, you know what, we've lost. They're going to take a cool down period, and then they're going to come back and they're going to try and get the most they can out of ADOR for the time that's left. Regardless, the one thing I can say I do definitely think is going to happen is that the longest they're going to be in ADOR is to the end of their current contracts. There is no way in hell that they're going to stay once those contracts are over. Whether Hee-Jin picks them up or not, personally, I'm very skeptical, but I digress. Speaking of our woman of the hour, because we can't talk about NewJeans without talking about their sixth member, can we? What does this do for Hee-Jin? How does it affect her? How does this change things? Oh my, I have this image of this woman like screaming in her bedroom right now, racking up noise complaints by the minute. And it's very satisfying, I'm not gonna lie. If you don't know, I don't particularly like Hee-Jin. I think she deserves all that's coming to her and then some. And personally, I think this is gonna be a massive kink in her plans, because on the assumption that the Magnets did actually return to ADOR on their own volition out of a genuine intention to try and make things work with ADOR, this would be our first signs of NewJeans finally acting in their own best interest and not under Hee-Jin's manipulation. And if there's one thing a narcissist hates, there's one thing a manipulator hates, is when you grow a backbone and say, I'm not going to be your doormat anymore. I'm not going to do things the way you want. I'm going to do things for me. They can't stand it. Their ego can't stand it. So it's going to be a huge shock to her system, if you will, that NewJeans are no longer moving according to her plans, especially with all of them going back. Now, as we said, we do still question the sincerity of the Onnis, and there is very much every chance that they are still communicating with her. So it could also be seen as they're spying, or they're leaking information to her, but I doubt there's much ammunition that would be exposed to them that Hee-Jin could later use. And we know that she very recently got read to absolute filth in court. Not only by the NewJeans judge ruling, but also by Source Music. And this Friday, just 2 days from now, she's also going to get rid for filth by Belif Labs. And at the end of this month, she's going to be making a testimony at the Hype case, which, I cannot wait to hear what she's going to say, because I cannot wait for her to put her foot in her mouth. But also, let's not forget that the basis of her arguments, while not centered around NewJeans themselves, centers around the fact that she said the things she said and she did the things she did because she believed they were in NewJeans' best interest. And by NewJeans basically undoing all the work she did and returning to the company, they are indirectly saying that actually it wasn't as bad as Hee-Jin said, because we went back. So if she's saying that she's doing all of this for our best interest to save us from this evil company that we've willingly decided to return to, it couldn't have been that bad, right? So what then becomes the basis of Hee-Jin's argument? The other big issue I think this could present to Hee-Jin is obviously she's just announced her new company, which, mind you, I said she did not set up this company with the expectation that NewJeans would win and that they would be coming over. She set it up for the optics. But I do still wonder, us knowing that she did not set it up with her own money, under what pretense did this investor invest in this company? Because I still believe, because I don't really have anything else to believe, that the only reason anybody would want to invest in Hee-Jin is because they believe she had something of value, and that something of value would be NewJeans. So, on the assumption that there is either a verbal or written agreement that Hee-Jin could get this investment on the condition that NewJeans would be coming to her company, and now NewJeans have decided not to do that, that means that NewJeans and Hee-Jin have now violated the contract with the investor, which means that runs the risk of the investor coming out and trying to get compensation, because generally when you break a contract like this, you don't just pay back the principal, the money that was invested, you also have to pay a penalty for breaking the contract, for breaking the agreement early, because investors don't invest to get the money they put in back, they invest to get profit. They want a return on their investment. So if you guys are not meeting the agreement for the investment, the reason I invested in you, or you've convinced me to invest on false pretenses, I'm gonna sue your ass. And if that were to happen, there is every chance that the investor could sue both NewJeans and Hee-Jin. For Hee-Jin, I don't give a fuck. Good. Sue her for everything she's worth. The $3 billion she's still gonna get from Hybe, even if she loses the case, take it, and then take the money she's supposed to pay back Bang Shiok so she can owe him for longer, so that interest can go up too. I don't fucking care about that bitch. But what I am worried about is NewJeans, because obviously that's going to be a big bill. They already owe the bill from the judge ruling, from the ruling in the last lawsuit. They have to pay for ADOR's court fees. And technically, this is the big issue here, them signing another agreement while still being under agreement with ADOR is a breach of agreement with ADOR. So ADOR could then sue them for breach of contract, which would actually allow them to kick NewJeans out and still get their money and not have to deal with everything and still come out as like the righteous party. They could in theory also sue the investor for signing an artist who they had very publicly said from the beginning, this is our artist, and if you try to work with our artist while we're still proving this in court, we will come for you, which, mind you, there's still other court cases to come. Oh my goodness. That's going to be a whole other kettle of tea. That's what I'm saying. So yeah, there's a lot of things to come from this. And I do kind of wonder now, technically everything I've just said is speculation, but this is real speculation. This is full tinfoil hat conspiracy. There is also a very small chance that one of the, conditions of the Magnes returning to ADOR is that ADOR would protect them in the case that this investor came out. They probably came clean and explained that, okay, we've agreed to this. We know we shouldn't have done this. We know it's breaking the rules. We know we've technically broken your contract, but we are saying we will commit. We will give you everything we have if you protect us from the repercussions of this. I could totally see ADOR saying, okay, we're not going to sue you for damages, but if this comes out, we're going to sue this person and blah, 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 blah. Just conspiracy. It just popped into my mind, so I wanted to put it out there because I love being right, and if it comes out later, I'm gonna be so mad if I didn't say so. Anyway, either way, this is gonna be an issue for Hee-Jin, both in her current court cases, and if this investor then pulls out of her new magic shiny company that's still under construction. And like I said, it takes away from her whole argument of all of this being for NewJeans' sake. I don't imagine we're gonna see a direct statement about this from her, but I can totally see her putting something passive aggressive on her IG story because she loves to do that. And when she gives her testimony at the end of the month, I am so sure she's going to mention this. She's gonna paint it as, oh look, my poor girls were forced to go back to that evil company and blah 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 blah. But that's something for us to look forward to, isn't it? Anyway, all in all, while I'm happy NewJeans have finally made some sensible decisions, I do still worry that they aren't entirely united in the decision that they've made, and there is still the question of their sincerity. And as a result of that, there is still going to be a lot of drama to come within the group and with the reactions to the group coming back from the fans of the other Hybe artists, particularly Isla and Seraphim. And Lord knows, I would give an arm and a leg to be a fly in the Hybe building elevator when these girls come back to the company. But anyway, I'm curious to hear what you guys thought. Were you surprised when you heard the news, or did you expect this to happen? Some people have been saying that they saw this coming, so good for you. And also, what do you think is going to happen moving forward? Leave a comment. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe so you don't miss other hot takes like this straight off the top of my noggin. And of course, check out the main channel if you want to see some actual put together, organized, comprehensive content, because oh my goodness, the Hee-Jin video is coming. I've been working on that script for the last 3 nights. You know, if you follow me on IG, I've been working on it and it's going to be a long one. The video is looking to be like 2 hours long, guys. So make sure you subscribe to both the channels and I'll see you guys in the next one. Anyway, this has been Han from the Haniverse. Thanks for stopping by.